Hi, viewers. Welcome to another episode of Getting to Know the Team at MA Inc. I am your presenter today, Seshni Mudli, a legal consultant at MA Inc. Today, I have the pleasure of sitting down with a colleague whose journey is a testament to academic excellence, commercial expertise, and a passion for navigating complex legal issues. Joining us today is Mr. Etienne van der Merwe, a consultant at MA Inc., whose expertise spans business rescue, BBBEE compliance, and the rapidly evolving field of cyber law. Etienne has distinguished himself not only in practice, but also in academia. Having completed his LLM, that's Masters in Law, cum laude, an achievement that reflects his dedication to mastering the law and continuously expanding his knowledge. In this episode, we'll explore Etienne's professional journey, gain insights into some of the most critical areas shaping modern business and commercial law, and hear his advice for aspiring legal professionals looking to make their mark in this industry. Etienne, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Seshni.
So let's get into it. From academia to practice, excelling in both worlds. You achieved an impressive milestone by completing your LLB, cum laude, and your LLM, while simultaneously building your career in the legal profession. What habits, strategies, or mindsets contributed to your overall academic success? And what advice would you give to law students and candidate attorneys who aspire to excel academically while preparing for the realities of legal practice?
Thank you, Seshni, and hello, viewers. For me, academic success came down to consistency, discipline, and genuine curiosity about the law. I tried to work steadily throughout the year, rather than relying on last-minute preparation, and I focused on understanding legal principles instead of simply memorizing them. So balancing study with practice also taught me to manage my time carefully and to prioritize what required immediate attention. My advice to law students and candidate attorneys would be to develop strong habits early, remain open to feedback, and take every opportunity to connect academic concepts with real legal problems.
I think time management plays a role even in practice, preparing for litigation, managing your time, just doing as much research as possible is one of the keys to winning. Would you agree?
Absolutely, Seshni. I couldn't have said it better.
Navigating the complexities of BBBEE compliance. As a BBBEE technical signatory, you worked within a highly specialized area of commercial law that has a significant impact on business growth and transformation. What are some of the most common misconceptions businesses have about BBBEE compliance, and how can legal professionals add value by helping organizations approach it as a strategic business tool rather than merely a regulatory requirement?
Excellent question. So one of the most common misconceptions is that BEE is simply a scorecard exercise or an administrative requirement that only needs attention shortly before verification. In reality, meaningful compliance requires proper planning, reliable evidence, and alignment between an organization's transformation objectives and its broader commercial strategy. So legal professionals can add value by helping businesses understand that regulatory framework, structure its initiatives appropriately, and identify legal commercial risks before they arise. So I would say B should therefore form part of ongoing business planning rather than being treated as an annual compliance exercise or something that is done at the 11th hour. It's an ongoing project and you need to actually manage it carefully to make sure that you deal with it appropriately and it's and within the time constraints that are available to the organization.
find that a lot of companies don't have a good understanding of BBBEE compliance, and that's why they wait for the last minute to really comply with the requirements?
Potentially. I mean, it's all about education to know what the regulatory framework is, in order for everyone to understand what is actually required. Because if you don't understand the problem, you can't deal with it appropriately. So I tend to agree with that submission, yes.
I think definitely around this realm, spreading awareness will assist businesses, but also the legal practitioners like yourself who specialize in this field of compliance.
Correct.
Business rescue, balancing law, strategy, and leadership. Business rescue requires professionals to guide companies through some of their most challenging periods. From your experience, what are the key qualities and legal considerations that contribute to a successful business rescue process? And what lessons has this field taught you about leadership, problem solving, and resilience?
I would say a successful business rescue requires a clear understanding of the company's financial position, early intervention, and honest communication between all stakeholders. It also requires a commercially realistic plan. Legal compliance is therefore essential, but the process cannot succeed through legal analysis alone. It must take account of operational realities, available funding, and the interests of employees, creditors, and other affected parties to ensure a successful business rescue plan is implemented. So I would say the field has taught me that leadership during a crisis requires calmness, transparency, and a willingness to make difficult decisions. It has also reinforced the importance of adaptability. So not every challenge has an immediate or perfect solution. So professionals must remain focused, assess the available options objectively, and continue working towards the best achievable outcome to ensure a successful business rescue.
I think that's something that aspiring business owners can also take into account. That, there are people to assist when the business is not doing as well as you purported it to do.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, business rescue, no one enjoys it. It's a difficult situation for a company. And I mean, it's because now the company needs to hold hands with a business rescue practitioner who is seen as an outsider, and it's to get that communication and workaround to see if the parties can actually try and rescue this business, because that's what the name suggests, is to try and rescue the business and for everyone to work together to actually get it out of this financial distress that it's currently facing.
Absolutely. So let's look at the future, digital law and cyber law in this economy. With technology rapidly reshaping the business landscape, cyber law has become increasingly important for organizations of all sizes. What emerging cyber law risks should businesses and legal practitioners be paying close attention to? And how do you see the role of commercial lawyers evolving as issues such as data protection, cybersecurity, and digital transactions become more central to modern business operations?
Once again, an excellent question. Thanks, Eshni. So cyber law is very dear to my heart. That's the field that I've done my LLM in. So I would say business should be paying close attention to data breaches, ransomware, online fraud, the unlawful use of disclosure of personal information, and the risks created by third-party service providers. I mean, we see it daily in the news about data breaches occurring and people wanting to know what are the ramifications of those data breaches. So it's the public who needs to know, as well as the actual company who's involved in this data breach. They need to know what their rights and obligations are in these kinds of events. So I would add to that the growing use of artificial intelligence, cloud-based systems, and the automated decision-making also raises important questions about accountability, privacy, intellectual property, and the responsible use of data. Because you can imagine cloud-based systems are not necessarily based in South Africa. So which governing law do we use? All of those questions arise from those use of technology. So companies need to look at that carefully. And then finally, I would say commercial lawyers will increasingly need to understand both the legal and technological aspects of their clients' operations. Their role will therefore extend beyond responding to incidents and drafting standard policies. Lawyers will need to assist organizations with preventative risk management, data governance, cybersecurity obligations, digital contracting, and incident response planning. So I would end off by saying cyber law is becoming part of everyday commercial practice, and legal professionals will need to remain informed and adaptable as technology continues to develop.
I think we need to step aside from the traditional norms now that there's a digital aspect. There was this trend on LinkedIn, I don't know if you've been privy to it, where they were saying that artificial intelligence would actually replace the role of attorneys completely. What are your views on this?
I would say in South Africa, probably not. I mean, some of our systems are a bit outdated. You can't slot AI in that attorney's role to go and do those kinds of attendances. I would say AI would probably support attorneys, but not replace attorneys, because I've seen how certain clients would generate a document using AI, and they would think in their minds that this document is actually good to go. They can use it, they can contract based on that document. But if you go through the document, it actually doesn't deal with the commercial needs, the rights and obligations of the party concerned. So yes, it may save some costs on upfront drafting of documents, but the litigation will probably follow fairly soon after that document is used by the party when they use AI for drafting documents.
So would you advise viewers who aren't in the legal realm to consult an attorney, even if ChatGPT gives you a clear process on a legal matter?
Definitely, because I mean, you can see from ChatGPT's own little disclaimer, it says it can't give legal advice, it makes mistakes. And usually when you prompt ChatGPT for legal advice, they would say at the end, go and seek legal advice on this issue. So I would still urge clients to make sure that they go and see an attorney, because sometimes ChatGPT and some of these other large language models do hallucinate and they don't get it right.
I think that goes with legal practice as well. I don't know if you've heard about the heads of argument that was drafted purely using AI. So,
Yes.
what advice would you give in that regard? I know with candidate attorneys, they're so tempted to utilize AI, and not only them, some busy attorneys as well. So, what would you
So
say?
I won't place a total ban on using AI. I would say AI can potentially be your crutch, but you need, as legal professional, you are paid and you have a legal duty to your client to double or triple check what AI generates to safeguard against those hallucinations. I would say AI should be 10% in your process to say, okay, it's giving me an idea, it's giving me a step in the right direction, but now I actually need to go and look at LAWSA or look at the case law that's being cited and make sure not just that the citation is correct, but that the case is actually on point. So I would urge legal practitioners and professionals to triple check the AI resources or sources to make sure that it's actually not hallucinating.
That's very encouraging that you've stated that we can work together with AI. A lot of individuals are of the view that AI should be disregarded completely, and we should just stick to the traditional norms of drafting and research.
Yeah, I mean, that is safer. I would say that is probably the safer route to follow. But again, AI is here to stay, and we need to adapt with these technological advancements. And to my mind, adapting doesn't mean to adopt it wholesale. It's just to use it as a basis, or at least a 10%er, and to develop from there. And not every situation will allow for AI to be used, and vice versa. So I would say, I mean, I'm not wholly opposed to using AI, but what I am opposed to is submitting confidential information to these large language models. I mean, that can never happen. If it's confidential information, that should stay off these large language models, to make sure that we don't give up privileged information of clients.
Absolutely. So one of the key purposes of this YouTube series is getting to know the team at MA Inc. So we're going to leave Etienne, the attorney who's in the courtroom, this side, and we're going to get into who is Etienne, the person out of the courtroom.
Yes. All right. I would say Etienne, a person outside of the courtroom, is someone who enjoys family time. I like having a braai, whether it's on a weekday or a Saturday. And I have 2 cats. I enjoy walking my cats in the street. They've got their own little stroller. So you would see me in the streets walking my cats. And that's pretty much me. I mean, yeah, I enjoy sport, enjoy braaiing, and having some family time.
That's very interesting. I think getting to know the person outside of that court gown and that commercial argument is so important, especially for client relations. So thank you for sharing that with us.
It's a pleasure. Thanks, Ashni.
To our viewers, thank you for your continued support. Thank you for all the shares, likes, and comments. If you enjoyed this series, don't forget to like, share, comment, and encourage others to subscribe. Thank you, Etienne, for joining us today. This has been
Thank you,
another
Ashni.
This has been another episode of Meeting the Team at MA Inc. Always remember, we're always on your side. Bye, viewers.
Thanks, everyone.